Hi everyone. So yesterday I was helping out somebody with a WordPress development support query where they wanted to change something in how the core internals of WordPress works. And I thought the process that I went through to help out with this query was quite interesting, and there might be some good tips and tricks in here. So I thought I'd talk you through what we did and how. And there will be some command line. We'll go and look at GitHub. We'll go and look at a little bit of internal WordPress core code and try and figure out how to do this thing. So the question was all about logging into WordPress and wanting to change the URLs that you use to log in. So you may not know this, but normally you go to /wp admin, and that redirects you to this /wp login page. And but there's other ways that you can get there. So if you don't want to type WP admin, you can type just admin, and that will do exactly the same thing. So there's a redirect. You can type dashboard. That does the same redirect. And you can type /login too. We'll see that does exactly the same thing. So all of those things, admin and dashboard and login and WP admin, all direct you to the login screen. And this person wanted to prevent /login going and being redirected to the login screen. They wanted to redirect it to somewhere else. So they wanted to prevent the built-in WordPress core redirect to the login screen. So how do we do that? Well, my initial thought was that there's probably a filter in WordPress. So all of these different things that you can tack onto your URL to get to the login screen, they're probably in a list somewhere, and that list probably gets filtered. So I thought, okay, what can I look for in the WordPress code that might be unique enough that it might let me track down that particular part of the WordPress code? Now, you can do search in GitHub. So the WordPress core code is actually in a system called Track. You may or may not have heard of Track, but it's also mirrored. So it's copied every 15 minutes. It's copied out of SVN, which is one of the systems that runs within Track or alongside Track. And it's copied from SVN every 15 minutes into this GitHub repository, which is at github.com/WordPress/WordPress. So this is the WordPress core code. And in GitHub, you can actually search a repository for some code. So I decided that of all the things, WP admin, dashboard admin, and login, I figured dashboard is probably the most unique. So I thought, well, let's do a search for the word dashboard in the WordPress code. And I can search in this repository or all across the entirety of GitHub. And this is probably not advised in most cases unless you're doing something very specific. But if I actually search in this repository, GitHub will churn away and it will come back and it will show me all the places that the word dashboard is used in the code. And there's 10 pages of them, so that's quite a lot. And though you can actually see them in context here, so I don't just see where the word dashboard is used, I can actually see the code around it, and it's linked off to the full file and everything. So it is useful to do that in here if you can track down something unique enough. But I actually end up using the command line for this. So if I switch to my terminal, I have an install of WordPress core, and that's in my project/WP core. And if I do a listing in here, this is actually a downloaded copy of the WordPress source. So I need to go into trunk and then src to actually see something that looks like the familiar WordPress files. And what we can do here is we can use a tool called Grep. And Grep is a Unix command line tool which lets you search through files. So if I grep for debug in the file, we don't have the sample config in here. So that's not going to work. But you get the idea. I could do wp config.php and that would find the word debug in wp config.php. So that's not a very good example. Let's have a look what's in the README. If I just open up the README, I'll show you how this works. So what's in here? So there's first thing first, it says here. So I could do grep for first. And it's important to note that grep is case sensitive unless you turn case sensitivity off. So it will look for the capital F there, and we'll do that in readme.html. And so that will find all of the instances of first with a capital F in this file, and it will print them on each line. So we've got the first things first line, and then there's something else here as well. Here we go, the word first, you need to get WordPress. So it's shown us those 2 lines that the word first is in. Now we can pass some options to grep, so we can do grep -r. So if I do grep -r first, the -r does a recursive grep. So it will look through all of the files in all of the directories in my current directory or wherever I tell it to look. So if I do grep -r first star, that's going to search all of the files and subdirectories in my current directory. And so we'll see there's a whole load of stuff comes back there. And it tells you the file name. And then it tells you or shows you the line that the thing we were looking for was found in. So grep is really handy for that. You can also narrow the search down, so I can do grep -r for recursive to go through my subdirectories, and then I can do -- include equals star.php. So I can pass I can say include all the files that match this pattern, which is star.php, and it will only then look for files that match that pattern. It will go through the subdirectory still because I've specified -r, but we're going to see anything here. All of these are PHP files, unfortunately. So, but if I were to do this not recursively, so this won't go to all the subdirectories. Now, if I didn't have this include, oops, we need to put first, it would find the word first in the README, but because I specified it to look in PHP files only, it's not found that. So we see that at work. So if I combine these things, I can do a recursive look through all my PHP files for something, and the term we were going to look for was dashboard, and we'll do that in all files. Now this will list all of the places where the word dashboard is used in the WordPress core code, and there's quite a few places, but what I did was I scrolled through and I had a quick look thinking, is there anything that's like obviously trying to be possibly constructing a URL or being involved in a redirect of some sort? And I found these in this file. WP includes canonical. I found home URL dashboard and site URL dashboard. I thought that looks interesting, and canonical probably refers to URLs. So let's go and open this file, WP includes. So we can go to WP includes, and then we can use the less tool to look at canonical.php. And then if I search this, I can use / here, search this for the word dashboard. And there you go, it's highlighted the occurrences for us. And great, so we found this function called WP redirect admin locations. It bails out under certain conditions. And then it says, here's all the admin URLs. So WP admin, dashboard admin, and then here's all the login URLs, which are WP login PHP, login and login. So this looks like the things that we want to make use of. Now, sadly, these aren't filtered. So we build up this array of URLs, and normally we'd kind of expect WordPress to run a filter on this so that we can intercept that list and modify it if we want to. But this doesn't happen. It says if the thing, so if the request URI here, if the page that was requested is in this list of URLs, then we're just going to redirect to the standard admin URL. And equally for the logins, if the page that was requested is in the list of logins, then we're going to redirect to the login URL. And that was the behavior that we saw. But these aren't filtered, so I'd expect this list here could potentially be filtered so that we can modify it and strip out or add to it, in fact, any of the extra URLs that we can use to access the dashboard. But we can't do that, so we're a bit stuck. We can kind of see, okay, we've got this core code and we can see where these lists are set up, but how do we modify it? So the next thing I did was okay, well, what actually calls WP redirect admin locations? And if I quit out of less, then we can go back up a layer, and we can do the same thing. So we can do grep -r include all our PHP files. So this time I'm going to look for that function, see what that function is called. So this is now searching all of the WordPress PHP files for this function name. And so here we go. So that's canonical.php. That's where the function is defined. And then this file, default filters, is where we actually add this action, which calls the function that we were looking at. So this is really good. This means that this is added as an action on the template redirect hook. And what we could do is we could actually unhook this, so we could remove this action. We could then create a copy of this function, and we could tweak it and modify it ourselves, and then we could hook it back on to this template redirect function. So we do actually have a mechanism of modifying this behavior without actually modifying any of the core code, which is important to do. So we could put this in a plugin where we remove the action from the template redirect hook, include our new function, and then add the action back in with our new changed function. It's a bit hacky and has potential to break in the future, but we've at least found a way to do it. So interesting things that we might have learned there. One is, well, maybe you learned that these different URLs exist for redirecting to the dashboard and login screens. That might be a useful thing to learn. Maybe you learned that you can search in GitHub inside a repository for a particular word, and it'll actually search through all of the code and show you those results. And then on the command line, we've seen how we can use grep to search through code, and we can use it recursively, and we can use it to include files as well. Now actually I have created a function called php rgrep which does a recursive grep of all my PHP files, so I can just do php rgrep for that. We still got that in our buffer. Yep, so I can do a php rgrep for this string, and it will just do all that for me, and I've set that up in my what's called my bashrc file. So if I less from my home directory .bashrc, you'll see I've got this little function here, php rgrep, that does grep minus r minus include equals star.php. $1 passes through the first parameter that I sent to the function, and then star means search all files. So I've actually got a really, really easy way of searching through PHP code. Even if it's mixed in amongst JavaScript code or CSS code, it will only search PHP R files. So php rgrep is my friend and lets me track down stuff like this really, really quickly. So I hope that was useful. Hope you learned something, and go forth and start grepping the WordPress code base and see what you can find.